Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Project Diablo 2 Season 12. This is a build guide for the Fireworks Barbarian. In this build gang, we're going to be going through the stats, the skills, and items that make this build possible. If you saw my Season 11 video, then you would have saw the baseline for the build. Maybe that's even why you're here now. So if that's the case, so glad to see you again. This is Obama Dinger, other Fireworks Barbarian. So let's get into the stats and skills. Strength and dex, just enough for your equipment. Everything else into vitality, nothing into energy. Very standard on that side. Going through our skill tree here, we're going to do 1 point in all of our traditional shouts. So we set up our battle command, battle order, shout, free buff. Under combat masteries, we're going to do 1 point into general mastery. There'll be frenzy in this build. We're going to max out throwing mastery. And I have some comments and guide on the chance to conversation. We've got 1 point into iron skin, 1 into combat reflexes, 1 into natural resistances. And then in this guide, we're also going to talk a little bit about the frame rates for double throw. So I've got increased speed maxed out, which is going to give us 20 points in this is going to get us a nice 40% buff to our attack speed. We're going to put the remainder of our points into deep wounds, but we're going to max out double throw, as you might have guessed, because this is a double throw barbarian, and frenzy. We're maxing out frenzy because we will likely be using this in some instances if there's just a single monster that we need to hit, like a boss. It's going to give us that nice, juicy attack speed buff. It's going to give us that walk run speed, which is really nice as well. And I like to do 1 point down to leap just for quality of life, escaping, moving around, traveling through the arcane sanctuary, etc. So build on this one last time. 20 double throw, 20 frenzy, 20 throwing mastery, 20 increased speed, remaining points into deep wounds, 1 point everywhere else that you care about. So this build is an on striking double throw barbarian. So the majority of our damage gang is actually going to be coming from not our damage here like our traditional throw barbarian that really high enhanced damage and other things that are going to buff their base damage output. Instead, we're going to focus on gathering items that provide our damage. At the core of this build, once again, is the principal rune word. Principal does a lot of great things for us. It gives us life, gives us kind of like a generic Tyrials or a fortitude, in that it gives us at max 150% bonus damage to demons and undead, which is not something to ignore. That's really awesome. The fire res on here is good too, but the center of the plate gang, once again, is 75% chance to cast level 25 Holy Bolt. Level 25 Holy Bolt does about 200 magic damage per bolt. And if you shotgun it properly, and you're going to be shotgunning in this build, that's 600 damage per cast. Now, keep in mind, double throw has 2 chances to roll, and it bounces 8 times. So we have 16 chances if we have enough enemies to bounce between, and we successfully land those attacks, cast level 25 Holy Bolt at a 75% chance. So it's pretty much guaranteed we're going to be shooting dozens of these for every single attack. Weapons for this build, you're going to want to make a wind rune word, and we're going to make 1 and use them in each hand here. And the thing we're really looking at on wind, there's a lot of great things here. The faster run walk is really nice. 40% increased attack speed is a huge help. Life after kill is great for quality of life and clearing. One of the things in this build that can make it particularly challenging is your chance to hit. So I'm going to show you how to address that in the build. But having minus 50% target defense is huge for helping with that. We want every single bounce on every single throw to hit, because that's going to impact our chance to cast on striking. And if it couldn't get any better, 35 tornado, 35 twister, 18% chance each. We're going to double that joker up, which makes for quite spectacle on screen. Adding to our screen spectacle is our carrion winds. We're going to want 2 of these, primarily for the 8% chance to cast level 30 Twister on striking, which again is going to add to our total damage output. But if you think about it, we're also getting even more faster run walk here. So on the Wind rune words, you're going to get, at minimum, another 20% buff. So we haven't even looked at our boots yet. And between these 4 items, we already have 80% increased movement speed, which is really, really nice. Carrion Wind also satisfies our life stolen needs, gives us some additional protection from missile damage, which is really nice. And the Poison Creeper even comes in handy, and I'll show you why here in just a minute. For the gloves, we're going to want Hellmouth War Gauntlets. For the corruption on this, it's kind of debatable. I like Deadly Strike. 8% chance to cast Molten Boulder and 4% on Meteor isn't a ton of damage. But as we work through the rest of the items in this build, you'll see that this build does physical, magic, poison, and fire damage all at the same time. So Deadly Strike here on this. This one's just a 9% fire res, so not too bad. Molten Boulder is more about our safety than our damage output, and we'll see that here in a minute once I run the build. Molten Boulder, you're going to shoot out tons of these as you are clearing a map or clearing an area, and Molten Boulder has continuous knockback, which we love because it keeps us safe. Meteor is going to add some additional physical damage, some additional fire damage, and some fire damage over time. Sure, 4% chance, level 34, nothing buffing it, doesn't seem crazy until you cast it 10, 15 times on the same pack of enemies. It adds up, trust me. For the belt on this guy, I'm still a big fan of Sigurd's Staunch. Love the Crushing Blow on it. Iron Skin is nice. Love the increased maximum life. This one doesn't even have a fancy corruption on it, just a magic find. Boots, we're going to be going with Gore Riders. Might have guessed that. Gore Riders does everything we need. Additional Crushing Blow, Deadly Strike, all that fun stuff. One thing in this build that can be challenging is managing your mana needs. Okay, so getting mana per kill is very nice if you can get it in your corruptions. I've got it here on my Gore Riders, and I have it here on my Carrion Wind. The helmet on this build is going to lead us into the conversation on chance to pierce on Double Throw, and I want to talk about that here for a second. I got a lot of comments on my Season 11 guide about whether or not Pierce works on Double Throw. Even Senpai talked about it when this build was showcased last Saturday, where he said, oh, this poor soul thinks Chance to Pierce works on Double Throw. I've got some issues with that. I'll address it here in a second, but I love Wisdom as the helmet on this build for a couple of reasons. It gives us our Cannot Be Frozen, which can be challenging to get in this build unless you get a corruption somewhere else. Gives us more mana per kill. Gives us mana stolen per hit. Like I mentioned earlier, chance to hit and attack speed are the 2 most important things that you can get in this build. So having that additional bonus attack rating is wonderful. And chance to pierce, we'll talk about that here in just a second. Mine just has battle command and increased speed on it for some additional quality of life things there. It also has 15% damage taken gained as mana when hit. This one item effectively resolves all of our mana issues, helps with our chance to hit, and gives us Cannot Be Frozen, which is huge. So let's talk about Pierce for just a second before I finish with the items. Throwing Mastery does have a base percent chance to pierce. And even Senpai mentioned that the reason they did this is because they wanted the Barbarian, before he gets Double Throw, to have the ability to use regular throw and hit enemies. And so I don't know if the chance to pierce situation is simply a visual bug. It could be a visual bug. But anyone out there who has played a Double Throw Barbarian, I have had plenty of moments when I am hitting a single enemy that has no other surrounding enemies to bounce to, where my attack pierces. And I've had that happen plenty of times, where not only does it pierce, but then it will continue to bounce on the pack after it. So we'll look at that here in a second. Maybe we'll even see that visual bug, if it is a visual bug, while I go through the rest of the guide. Amulet that you're going to want to use on this is going to be an Atmos Scarab. That amp damage does wonders for buffing our damage and for making all of those twisters and tornadoes successful. So, getting into the mixed damage component of this build, for your charms, Annihilus and Hellfire Torch, not really a surprise there, right, gang? You're going to want to gather as many poison charms as you can. Poison makes up a significant portion of the damage in this build because I use this build to run T4 maps for fun. So if you are not planning on doing T4 maps, I would say totally forego the poison. You don't really need that mixed damage. Max damage, small charms would probably serve you better. In fact, max damage, small charms, and maybe doing battle command instead of increased speed would actually help you to clear a regular map better. I have him optimized right now for running T4. So the rest of my charms in this build, again, it's poison all the way with some additional resistances, some additional run walk, things like that. And if you are going to do a T4 map, I'll do just a little teaser on that here for a second here. You are going to want a Naj's Puzzler on swap because repositioning your mercenary is key if you're going to run a T4 map. I also like to buff with Demon Limb. Demon Limb, of course, is going to help us with our attack rating problems. And it's also going to give us a little bit of a damage buff to our fire damage. Considering how many bounces we're going to get as we're attacking, 700 fire damage may not seem like much. When every attack has the possibility of applying that 16 times, yeah, it's a lot more than what it looks like. Okay. In order to make our poison damage much more effective, I have discovered that buffing with Venom on a Treachery is the easiest way to do that. So right now we've got 35,000 poison damage over 76 business days. Let's put on a Treachery. We'll find a couple of cows here. Get our buff going on Venom. There we go. We got Venom casted. And now we are at 1,200 poison damage over 1 second. Again, doesn't look impressive here on the stat sheet, but when you consider the number of bounces and the number of attacks that we're going to be putting out, it's absolutely wonderful. All right, so let's go back to town here for just a second. I want to talk about the Mercenary. Mercenary build for this is very standard. Right now I've got him with a Vamp Gaze and a Shaft Stop, and then a String of Ears, so that he has that wonderful 47% or near 50% physical damage reduction, which is nice. He's got some Ethereal Gore Riders, some Unslam Drax, and all of this, like I said, typical stuff. Nothing in this build is that expensive. Even the weapons, the most expensive thing you're going to touch in this build, getting the Sur Runes for the wins. Very cheap. Right now, I have my guy using Yuldissian's Awakening, 6-socketed. Again, he's using this because it helps to optimize him for running T4 maps. It makes him tankier. A Pride rune word is, I would consider, possibly best in slot. Pride gives us concentration aura, which is going to give us a damage buff. It's also going to give us additional attack rating. So last season, I ran with a Pride as the weapon and then a Templar's Might as the chest piece. You don't have to do that. I am still completely convinced that a Blessed Aim Mercenary is your best option. Right now, with Enchant still activated and my Blessed Aim Merc, I'm sitting at a lovely 100% chance to hit. And that's what we want. We want to have excellent attack rating on Double Throw. Okay? So how this build plays is a little bit different than a regular Barbarian. I'll run around and kind of demonstrate what it looks like, first of all, so you can get a sense of the mess that it makes. Every single attack, every single throw, we are casting all of those abilities over and over. The damage output from that is the strategy with using this build is a little different than a normal ranged class. Because of the Twisters and the Tornadoes really not having a full screen attack range, and Holy Bolt shooting 3 bolts, we want to shotgun the build, as I call it, which means we're going to spend most of our time moving and not attacking. We're going to throw and then move in. We're going to throw and then move in. Okay? And the reason we're doing that is because we want our on-hit abilities shotgun. The closer you get, the more likely it is that the enemies are going to get hit by them, and your overall damage is going to go up. And this is great for maps. And when you take into consideration, right now, I don't have Frenzy buffed at all. I'm at 140% run walk. So the clear speed on a map with this build is actually very fast. Okay, you'll have plenty of time to get into position. Getting into Frenzy here for a little bit. We're going to want to keep max level Frenzy running at all times, which is nice. I think it's, 35 seconds, so it's very easy to keep up. Max level Frenzy is not only going to impact our movement speed, as you can hear, but it's also going to help us hit a very important 6-frame attack speed breakpoint. 6 frame on Double Throw is 3.33 attacks per second. Okay, so quality of life doesn't get any better than this once you get that all the way stacked, and that's part of why increased speed this season is the change that I'm recommending for the build. I think from a quality of life perspective, the additional damage that you will get from the additional casts will far exceed a flat 100% damage bonus from Battle Command and 3 additional skill points. So keep that in mind. If you build him this season, give it a shot with increased speed and let me know what you think about it. So back to the playstyle here for just a second before I finish up talking about attack frames. Because of the Molten Boulder in the build, and as we're moving in, the Molten Boulders are going to push enemies back if they don't die instantly. And so it is going to create us that space. So just because this is a range build and you're running in doesn't mean you're really in danger. Okay. So that is the core items and the core stats for the build. And having a discussion about increased attack speed on double throw, if you're looking for best possible damage output just from the item itself, Ghost Glaives are going to be your go-to. They're going to have your highest, lowest, and highest max base damage for your rune word. Big shout out to Erasure. I use his loot filter, and I love that it shows me that speed rating that you can see right in the middle of the screen there next to range. So my official recommendation is either make your wind rune words in a winged axe or in a Hyperion javelin. Hyperion javelin is going to have a higher minimum base damage. Winged axes are going to have a higher maximum base damage. So it's really up to you. The speed on these are at a nice -10, which makes it much easier to hit that 6-frame breakpoint. If you technically want the fastest possible, winged knives are going to be your only option. They have got that lovely -20, but they have the lowest min and max damage. So you can kind of have the best of both worlds in this build if you set it up with either a winged axe or a Hyperion javelin. There are other options out there, whether you do a Balrog spear or a Pilum or some of these other things. But in keeping in line with the attack speed needs for this build, this is going to by far be your best. So that's the core of this build. That's all you need to get started. In my next video, I think I am going to take some time really doing a tutorial in a T4 map, which is what I have open here. That would make this build guide just a little too long for what we have today. One final thing here, gang. I am trying to find 7 other people that would be willing to make this build for us to do a couple of videos running T4 maps together. Again, I'm not going to spend a ton of time in this video on the exact setup that you need for that. But if you're interested in making this build, if this looks like something you would have fun running, please message me in game at Obamadinger and let's see if we can set something up. So if you made it this far, guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll end the video here with a little bit more gameplay of how this build works.